Cherries, it's Jessica here, and today's video is for our Technique Tuesday video series, and this month we are focusing on our favorite mixed media products. I have many favorite mixed media products, but the product that I'm focusing on today is acrylic paint. I think you can do so much with acrylic paint, and you can paint over practically anything. So in this video I am painting first over a piece of watercolor paper, then chipboard and metal pieces, and then I'll be adding a bunch of different colors using acrylic paint. So far, everything that I've painted was painted with a coat of heavy black gesso, and gesso is the perfect in-between between your surface and acrylic paint because it acts as a binder and it will hold your paint onto the surface better. So a lot of times if you don't add gesso and start adding your acrylic paint like on top of metal pieces, it will just slide off, or it could chip off, or if you're painting on chipboard it might not show up as vibrant. So I always like to add a coat of gesso with these mixed media projects. And right now I am adding some sparkling onyx texture paste, which is another mixed media favorite of mine. It's this really thick and it almost has like a sandy type of texture paste, and I'm pushing it through this snowflake stencil, and this snowflake stencil has been around for a while. It's one of Echo Park's older ones, but it's been my favorite snowflake stencil for a long time, so I'm using it again here. You can see I'm really not worried about having perfect stenciling throughout this entire page. A lot of it will get covered up. I just needed some texture in my background. So don't get too caught up on the stenciling being perfect. Just add some in the background and we'll move on from there. Now I'm starting to add my pieces that I'm going to layer with. So my chipboard frame piece, and then I also have some of these gear pieces. I'm gluing them all on. I also have some stars from Tim Holtz that I'm gluing on. Some of them I already gessoed, but I'll be adding more as well. And then I'm adding these icicles from Tim Holtz on the top of the page to give it a nice icy cold feel. I love doing layouts like this where I add a ton of mixed media because it's so fun seeing all of these simple materials like paint and unpainted embellishments, and it's so cool to see what I'll turn them into. Now I'm grabbing these little snowflake charms from Tim Holtz, and I'm actually cutting off the little charm part because it just has like a little circle on the edge of these snowflakes, which I didn't like, but I can easily take my wire cutters, these are from my jewelry set, and just cut it off so that it doesn't have that loop at the top. These are snowflakes that I use all the time, like all across winter. I usually grab like 5 packs or so at the beginning of winter and spread them throughout my projects. And cutting off the circles is something that I do for most of them, unless I'm using it as a dangly piece. All of the products that I'm using will be linked in the description below, so make sure to check there if you want to see what I'm using. And right now I am gluing on these sugar art pebbles from Prima. I also added a few more gear pieces that I thought could possibly look like snowflakes that are chipboard as well, and now I am adding a coat of gesso over everything that has not gotten any gesso on it yet. And like I was saying, having a nice coat of gesso is really important. For this project I am using black gesso, but I think it would be really cool to do this same exact project just using white gesso, and you would get a completely different look. I decided to go with the black, so it was a little bit darker, But I end up lightening it up a lot using the blues that I'm starting to use right now. The paint that I'm starting off right now is the Midnight Sky Metallic Art Alchemy paint, and this is also from Prima, and what's really cool about it is it has a little bit of a shine to it, and then also around the edges of the areas that I want painted, I watered it down a bit more, and I like how it catches the light when it's just a really thin layer of this paint. And I'll be adding more of this color and going back and forth from the darker to the mid-range colors and the lighter color as well. This next color that I'm using is actually from the still from Art Alchemy, but it's a Sparks, so it's almost like it has little glittery type flakes in there. And again, it's really pretty and shiny, which is the look that I'm going for this project. I'm pretty much painting over everything that I just painted with the dark blue, so now of course I have to go back in with the dark blue. And doing a mixed media project like this, it's really, you just got to go back and forth and add more and take away. So I'm just going back and forth a lot here. And again, I am really watering down my paintbrush in the areas where I am blending the two colors together so that they do come together in a nice way. All of my higher raised areas, I am trying to keep the lighter paint on, and using the darker paint, the areas where I think there'd be more shadows, so at the bottom of the page as well as where it's more like just flat page and doesn't have a lot of embellishments. Now I'm adding some white pearl metallic acrylic paint, and this was really cool to use on the darker page because it adds like this iridescent look to the page, which is really cool and something that you don't see unless you're using it on a darker color. I think it'd be cool to compare and contrast painting this on a black sheet of paper and a white sheet of paper, because I really noticed the iridescence that came out when doing it on this darker page. Now I am using some waxes, and waxes are something that I love adding as a finishing touch because I can use my finger to apply it, and I only apply it on the most raised area of the embellishments. So for the most part, I'm using white pearl wax and just rubbing it over all of my embellishments. I have these large art pebbles that are clear that I thought would be really cool if I actually added the title and the date of this page onto. And so I printed out some snowflakes and then the name of the place that we are skiing at, as well as the date, and then I'm using some Mod Podge. Some photos might not work with Mod Podge. I didn't have any problems with this one. Maybe test it out on a different photo or like a corner that you might cut off and make sure that it works. So I use the Mod Podge to adhere it to this art pebble, and then you can see here how I've got the title and the date and then an added little snowflake. And of course, because this is a mixed media project, I wanted to add some white splatters, which also goes with this snowy look that I'm going for because it looks like a bunch of little snowflakes all over my page. All of my photos are both backed with chipboard as well as adhered with some black foam tape. And I like adhering it with the black foam tape like this because I just feel like it works really well when it's going on uneven surfaces like my background that I've made. And then I'll also adhere these art pebbles that I made with the same black foam as well. I had so much fun making this mixed media page, and thanks for watching!